everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. I'm Pastor John Woodin, and this is a ministry of Hollywood Faith Christian Center in beautiful Hollywood, Florida. We're located on the Gold Coast of Florida, south of Fort Lauderdale and just north of Miami. Well, this morning and the next two mornings, I'm going to be speaking about the elections. Just to give you a little backdrop, as a Christian and someone who's listening to this, I want to encourage you to vote. Many Christians, and then it's estimated as many as 50% of all Christians don't vote. And we're going to look at some of the scriptural evidence, historical evidence, and then the issues. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That is up to you. But we want you to vote in all circumstances, regardless of where you are. Hopefully you're registered and to go to the polls or do early voting or something. This morning we'll start in Matthew 22. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how they might entangle Jesus in his talk, and they sent him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God in truth, nor do you care about anyone, for you do not regard the person of men." Well, first of all of that is window dressing, because the Pharisees didn't care. They didn't accept his authority. They said they do. They know you're a man from God. But if they did, they wouldn't question him. And they wanted to know, should they pay taxes to Caesar or not? And Jesus, perceiving their wickedness, said, "Why do you test me? Show me the tax money." And so they brought him a denarius, and he said to them, "Whose image and inscription is this?" And they said to him, "Caesar's." And he said to them, "Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." And this is about voting. If you're registered to vote, and I pray you are, that you actually go and exercise your vote. Let every soul be subject, Romans 13 says, every subject be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God. So God will pick the next president, not us. And you think that your vote, and it does matter, because it will be used to elect the next person. For whatever reason, God has selected that person before the time began to lead this nation. 1 Timothy says this, "Therefore exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and the giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life." Wow. So it's not talking about that this would do well for the recipient of the prayer, the leaders, that this would be well for us, that we need to pray for our leadership. And I pray that you have been interceding and praying in your daily prayer regimen for the leaders of this nation. Hebrews chapter 13 says this, "Obey those who rule over you and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you." Now, that doesn't even make sense, does it? It makes that we're praying for leadership and for people in authority, but that it will go well with us. God is saying to be under authority and to pray for those who are in authority, to give them wisdom and guidance. "Therefore submit yourselves to every ordinance of man, for the Lord's sake, whether to the king as supreme or to the governors, as to those who are sent by him, for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put in silence the ignorance of foolish men." Again, here it is, the scripture telling us to be prayerful, to be ready, and to participate in the process. And it says when we petition God, he requires us to do something. So we're praying for the nation, or we're praying for the condition of the nation. We're responsible for going to make sure that that happens. All I can do is vote for me. And that's all I need to do, because that's all he's asked me to do. And that's what we have to do for this nation, is to at least show up and vote. We ask for his guidance. We ask for God to intervene. He says, go ahead and do what it is that I've put on your heart to do. Well, we know that in 2 Chronicles 20, when Jehoshaphat goes and prays to the Lord, he cries out to God and says, we're in trouble here. You know, you need to see us. And then God tells him that this battle is not yours, but it's mine, and it belongs to the Lord. And he said, but you have to show up. You know, first, the battle belongs to the Lord. And the same thing is true about the elections. The outcome will be up to God. So whoever wins, it's God's plan. You can't say, oh, no, man intervened. It doesn't matter, because God ultimately is in charge. And the same thing is true here. And at one point he says, but you got to show up. And that's what he told Jehoshaphat. You got to send your army, and you got to send your singers, and they have to go down before you onto the battlefield, and you have to do something. And he did. He showed up. That's it. And he said, the battle will belong to the Lord. The Lord will fight your battle. And he did, and was victorious. But Jehoshaphat had to show up. And I'm telling you that right now, that you have to show up. The king's heart, Proverbs 21 says, is in the hand of the Lord. Like the rivers of water, he turns it whatever he wishes. Always remember that. God bless you. See you again tomorrow.